to Hermit Woods, where there's a story in every bottle. And he's been really enthusiastic about all of the wine and food pairing that we've been doing on the show for the last year. And it's been a lot of fun. I have learned a lot, getting an opportunity to try our wines with a wide variety of different foods. So Matt's been following along and been making some of these foods at home. And he was excited about coming here and sharing some of the things he's learned about the foods that you've been making, right? And sharing those with all of you out there. So he's our guest host today, and he's going to be cooking a variety of things, and we're going to get to that in a second. But before that, I've got to go through a couple of the mechanics of this. If you're joining us for the first time, I want to see the finger. Yeah, pointing it's easy. If you're joining us for the first time, YouTube, there's a subscribe button right below Matt. And we want you to subscribe. And that way, whenever we go live, either here Monday nights or wherever we might be, maybe on the ice on Meredith Bay or skiing down the slopes of Gunstock or something like that, you'll get notified that we're live. And if you're on Facebook, there's a little bell. Click that bell, and you'll be also notified if we go live on Facebook. If you're joining us tonight, we'd love it if you'd make yourself known. So put your name in the comments, say hello, so we can see that you're watching. And if you have any questions, please ask them or comments about the show. Marika is over here ready to answer your questions or pass them off to one of us, if that be the case. And she will, she'll do the best she can to moderate that. If there's a question that comes up that we can't answer or don't get to during the show, we'll do our best to get to it after the show. So, and lastly, if you like what you hear today and you think you have friends or family that would enjoy it as well, please share this broadcast with your friends and family so that they know that we're going live and they can be entertained by it as well. So I think that's all the business. Who do we have on with us so far?
Only a couple have made themselves known, but we've got Christine as usual, and it appears to be Matt and Lynn's daughter, Lee, has joined us as well.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Oh, Matt's not on today?
No, yeah, no, our regulars are concerning.
I don't know if we can start yet.
I know.
We can wait till Matt and Lynn show up.
So I'm gonna give a sneak peek too. We do actually have a small live audience hanging out in the corner over there.
There they are. It's the crew.
That's Bob's family in the corner there.
Yeah, we don't often have a live audience for the show. It's kind of fun when we get to have a live audience. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Matt. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time and making the effort to come up here. I know you drove a long way and brought a lot of goodies with you. And I'm really excited to see what you came up with. So I'm going to let you take it away. Tell us what we're going to do today. Give us a sort of summation of what we're going to do today.
So at the beginning, I just want to say that we just owe you guys a huge debt of gratitude for everything you've done, the wines that you've made, how perfectly they fit into everything that we do, and for all the hard work that you guys did to keep everything going through COVID, and for you delivering cases of wine in your little Miata and shipping them down to Massachusetts and fighting the battles so that you could. So we appreciate all that, and we're trying to do anything we can to kind of give back to the wine club. So what we're doing today is following a previous broadcast. where we did a comparison with what used to be our house wine, which was a Louis Jardot. So when you guys brought that Louis Jardot out, I went, I have that. And I went down to my wine cellar and I grabbed a Louis Jardot out. And so I put that pairing up and I went head to head. And I said, what we need to really be doing over here is not pairing directly against a French wine, but take foods that we like, including some special French foods, which we enjoy, and pairing your wines with really good French foods. Oh. And you're not going to find a wine any more complex than Red Scare. So Red Scare, when you get into some really cool, I can't even say this one. You say it better than I do. Say our pâté. Pâté au champignon. That. And we, in France, we like to eat foie gras on the upper deck. Mm-hmm. And so trying to find... Yeah, I didn't know either. He said that's the only thing he knows. So we would normally go with a foie gras, which is a little harder to get in America. So what I decided to do for the purposes of this, and which we often have to do at home, is to make substitutions. So we might not get a really good French foie gras, but through the help of my dad, Philippe, we got some escargot from Strasbourg, France. Wow. We wanted the ones from Auxerre, but we weren't able to because of COVID. They're in there and heating up. I made the crepe batter, and we'll go on from there on what we're doing. So I guess from there, we're going to go right to pick a house wine. So when we go out to a winery, and we've been to, I don't know, 60 wineries, and we try a wine, and we like it in the tasting, but you're tasting it along with 8 other wines. So you've kind of corrupted your palate a little bit. And so when you pick one, then you find one that you really like, and you have a whole glass of it. Like today at lunch, we had the Petit Bleu salad with a Petit Bleu wine. Sure. So we corrupted our palate well in advance, but of course I was cooking and taking a page out of Julia Child's book with a little bit of
I noticed that bottle's almost empty.
Yeah. So we had already corrupted our palate.
Oh yeah.
And so we kind of go down that road. So as I mentioned earlier, our house wine used to be a Louis Jardot, would be a one we would most often serve, and a couple of others. So pick a house wine. So you start with a tasting, then you have a glass, then a bottle. And I've said this before in the text chat on the right. And then had you guys pick us a case each of the ones we're doing to build our wine cellar. And of course, Red Scare, right to the top, but Petit Bleu, very good as well. I don't generally cook with Petit Bleu Reserve. It's just a little too intense. So it's a really good one to complement or follow a meal, but not together with the food. So a lot of the things you're going to see, just like you guys did downstairs in the deli, where you will kind of wove that through the meal. One of my goals in the back of my weird brain is to weave Petit Bleu through every single item in every single course for an entire day, from breakfast through evening snack.
Wow.
So
I want to come do that.
And yeah, I noticed you
Petit
definitely
Bleu for
include the
breakfast.
snacks. It's not just breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's breakfast,
snacks in between.
all the way through to the midnight snack.
Yeah, because I learned with
Chex Mix.
Yes.
Chex Mix. I did 38 different versions of Chex Mix when I was trying to figure out, because everybody buys the standard Chex Mix with the Worcestershire sauce, and it goes so well with most beers and ales. And when we hiked across England coast to coast, and so we hit lots of different pubs, typically 2 or 3 or 5 a day. And so it was an 85-mile pub crawl. But they all had pretty
Sound
much...
like very good days hiking around, right?
But they all had pretty much the same Chex Mix.
Yeah.
In every pub. Some of them
I
had
wouldn't even have
slightly
guessed that they had Chex Mix at all.
Oh, yeah.
Pubs in England.
They have great pub mixes. So
That's good to know.
So I went to go for a pub mix one night because I wanted something crunchy with my cranberry, my can of cranberry Dolgo. And wasn't a great combo. And I said, oh, how do I do this? So then I took a deep dive on Chex Mix. I made Chex Mix for how many days in a row? 3 or 4. 3 or 4 days in a row.
Well, and you delivered up here.
I remember that. We had
Chex. It took us weeks with all of us diving in.
Right.
To eat it all.
What I learned was when you go towards the cranberry end and towards a lot of the meads, the Chex Mix that are based on cashews were so much better, so much softer, a much better mouthfeel.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest, since we're not covering Chex Mix tonight, And we get to something.
Get back to something else.
True.
Okay, so there was Chex Mix.
For once, it's Bob keeping everybody in line.
It goes an hour goes like that. So
An hour goes like that. So we won't go into Chex Mix, but I encourage everybody to get into Chex Mix. So
What is the first thing you're going to prepare?
the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the crepes, and I'm going to see if we can spin a couple on this little stove.
Great.
So
Oil is getting hot.
my oil is getting hot. So we started with an applesauce, and this is just a cheap market basket applesauce. We generally make our own with a food mill and put a teaspoon of cinnamon. Thank you, dear. In every, how much is that?
16 ounces?
quart or so.
24 ounces. So a teaspoon of cinnamon to every 24 ounces. And I brought the cinnamon in case anybody would like a little bit more. And there's that. So what I do is I put that in a pan and I just put it on the back of the stove while I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. And I let it cook down and down and down and down and down. So when you go to a little less than half of its volume, then you take it off the stove, you let it cool, and then you pour in the equivalent, to bring it up to half of its original volume, Petite Blue. And then stir that in. So what we're going to do, I don't know if we're going to have time.
You've done this already.
Yeah, I've already done, I made these at home.
Okay.
We're still going to do some other stuff here. We're going to hopefully spin some crepes. And so we're going to start with crepes with
Oh, I should just grab
Petite
one.
Blue jam. I already sent the recipes up if you guys want. And these are preloaded.
Excellent. So you spun these at home?
I spun these at home. So back in the day, when my siblings used to make me make crepes, I'm one of 7 children, and I used to have a Nordic ware dip crepe pan. And to make enough crepes for a family of 9 people would take hours. So it took a long, long time, and that's what I would do. And so what you're eating there is this, I don't know the right term for when you cook something down. It's not rendered, but
Reduced.
Reduction.
so it's been reduced to about 50%, and then wine poured in to bring it back up to its volume to give you the right texture.
So for that size container,
Yeah.
how much wine would you say you added? A quarter cup?
A half a cup.
Half a cup.
A half a cup. It's so thick. I sent pictures one time when I was experimenting with this. The spoon should stand up in the pot.
Okay.
The spoon
Wow.
stands up in the applesauce. And when the spoon stands up in the hot applesauce, that's about right. Let it cool down below 120 degrees.
It's even thicker.
And it gets even thicker, and that keeps it from losing its alcohol content. And then you stir it in and then blend it in. And so you put a bead of blue sauce down, fold it in half, and then fold it in half the other way so that the blue sauce is in the very middle. I've got napkins over here if you need.
Oh, you've got more? Okay.
Yep. Hang
That's
on.
what I was going for. There are only a couple over here.
They're over there behind your computer.
There you go.
So that was the
All
first
that's
one.
in here is is that combination that you made?
Yep.
Rolled up in the crepe.
Yeah, a teaspoon of cinnamon.
Wine in the crepes, so too.
Oh, yes. So we'll get into the, we'll post the crepe recipe
Okay.
shortly. Going real quick to books. I guess you can see them over there. So when you find a cookbook that you really love, so I've been using this one here since, not this particular copy, because I don't know what my good copy is.
1970s.
It's 1970s. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you guys with a copy for experimentation.
Oh,
You don't cook, so
Thank
give
you.
that to your wife.
Give it to or Marika.
I'll give it to Marika.
We've got a great cookbook library that's been
Crockery
growing
cookery.
downstairs.
Excellent.
So I am of the generation when we got married. I'm a little older than most of you guys, but when we got married, everybody got a fondue pot. Okay,
Yeah.
and we have them for chocolate, and we have them for wine, and we have the ones
Cheese.
for cheese and for hot oil. So this one goes to you guys.
We fondued all through my growing up. That was one of the favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve fondue. We'd usually cheese fondue on Christmas Eve, and then the hot oil with dipping the meats
Meat,
and
right.
the spices.
And if it falls off into the fondue, do you know what you have to do?
No.
You get to kiss the person of your choice. That's true. That's a custom in France. So I got that one. And then if you can ever find this one here, that's mine. If you can ever find fondue and chafing dish cookery, you're going to find a whole lot of recipes in there. And what I've been doing is taking the recipes that I like, and now that I know enough about the wines in my collection, our collection, is that I know what wines to substitute now. And I'm at the point where I can take things up a notch. So when people come over, they're like, oh my God, that's really good. So did you see that one with the Chianti? About 4 pages back from where you just were? The beef Chianti? Okay, try beef with Red Scare. Just substitute, instead of the Chianti, substitute the Red Scare, and then serve it with the Red Scare.
Yep.
And on your salad, make a Red Scare vinaigrette. And then for your dessert, blend in the Red Scare, roll it into your crepes, and you have a very elegant, easy to make meal. I mean, I make these out in the campsite with the Scouts. All of these things are particularly easy. So once you
do you bring the Red Scouts and Scouts
making
too?
beef Chianti. No wonder you have so many good signups for your Scouts
so here's the
group.
scoop. As long as
Let's go
you
to Matt's class. He's cooking with wine again.
and this has
Don't
come
tell
up
your
in a
parents.
whole bunch of different areas. As long as, if you're making a stew and it calls for Guinness, like every Irish recipe there ever was,
Okay.
as long as you've heated it up to 180 degrees, there is no alcohol.
Right.
And therefore, you get the flavors, you get the fullness, you get an absolutely awesome meal,
With no alcohol.
Serve it to a 12-year-old.
and you can serve it to a 12-year-old, and it's completely legal. It's not a problem.
Matt, we knew that, but we couldn't help it.
Okay, so that's okay too. So
It was
what
being
I-
recorded. He wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
it was
Right,
legal
right.
and
It's
everybody
legal,
knew.
but so you do have to heat it up. So like when I talked about making the filling for the crepes, I can't serve that to kids because I cooled it to below 120 degrees before I blended in the wine, so it still has an alcoholic content. So you have to be very aware of what you're doing when you do it.
So I'm going to interrupt you just for a
Yeah.
second. One of the things that you brought up that I think is really important is you don't have to follow the recipes precisely when it comes relative to the wine type or the wine style. You should be creative. Choose different wines.
Right.
Try different wines if you have a favorite wine. I mean, clearly, if it's calling for a red wine, you might want to find a red wine to substitute it. But even then, not necessarily. If you had the head for it and you know how a white wine might go, give it a try.
And if you're following along, go back to
I don't know if
October,
they're done,
I
but
want
I
to say it's
started
the
again.
18th, but October 18th, 2021, and rewatch that broadcast and then apply that to everything that you're doing with your cooking with wine, and you're going to be in a completely
I'm going to
different
have to
world.
go rewatch that. That
What
was
happened?
like 4
What happened
months
on that
ago. I don't know.
That's where he talks about switching what you would normally do with a white wine to a red wine or vice versa.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's when I said, oh, I'm going to do my Prince Edward Island mussels in red wine. And then shortly after that, I don't remember exactly which week, he says, we're going to do PEI mussels. So we went down that road together, and we did the Lake House Red next to the Lake House White. What's that? I'm going to be putting the mussels on this.
We're going to try cooking some crepes.
What's that?
We're going to try cooking
I'm
some
not
crepes.
quite ready on the crepes yet. I'm going to move you guys on to,
The
I'm
burner
gonna-
might be out, so you might want to.
all right, I might have to reheat my burner. That might be why.
Oh, that looks like that's still on.
Okay.
That's still.
I did just turn this.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, have we got all,
Before you go any
Yeah.
further, maybe we could share with our live audience maybe a couple of those crepes to see if any of our live audience would like to try it.
sure, how do we do that?
Well, no problem.
Have another one.
We're just talking about the live audience, not the ones.
Oh,
that
the
are
live one. I'm sorry.
through there.
I got lost
He's
on
going to
that.
go right over there.
Audience, yeah. All right. Sorry, honey bunny. Now, in case you haven't had escargot before, escargot are snails.
Imagine
And
that, snails.
we've had
Yes,
good
at this winery.
we've had good snails, and we've, thank you,
Let
Jim.
me,
ahead.
excuse me, I'm just going to show this to the camera. You got the overhead camera
I
on?
do.
Yep.
Let's just look at that. How's that?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Oh, yeah. That smells so
Doesn't it?
good.
So all you do when you're doing escargot like this is we got them frozen, all right, from Arnold's Meats and Chicopee. So are we still on the overhead? All right,
No, I
I'll go
switched to the front.
So there they
front
are.
view.
They're just in a big bag of frozen. But these are really good ones, and they're very similar to the ones we get in Auxerre.
I love
So-
the little tray, the
Yeah.
escargot
Yes.
tray.
Yeah, I've never actually seen something like that. It
So-
almost looks like a muffin tin. But yeah, I've got
This
Where
one,
did,
Little tiny
where did you
muffins.
get those,
the
Matt?
fancy blue one comes from Auxerre, France, on a bicycle trip on our way back from Caves de Bailly-La-Pierre. This one,
You wrapped it up and carried it in your panniers the rest of the trip?
yes, we did. And this one, if you could pop, there we
Yeah.
go. This one comes from across the street at that little antique shop.
Right here in Meredith.
Yeah, you go out the front door, you look for Archie, the little statue of Archie.
Go to the right.
Go to the
Yep.
right, first
North.
antique shop
I'm
on your
willing
left.
to guess that was probably your last one.
You never know over there. Because, like, I had stuff for scouting that I wanted there, and they had them from my local community, so I don't want Red Scare.
What do we have in this one?
Petite Blue.
Oh, I did it.
So what you can sprinkle a little bit on before you start.
Ooh,
And the other thing you can
nice.
do is after they're nice and warm, you can put a little dollop. So this set over here, I missed.
Wow.
You know, Julia Child would miss this escargot too.
Well, of course. Well,
She was sipping sherry.
Her bottle would have been empty on it.
Empty, right. She had, I have great stories that we have a common friend.
Well, what's
So
that?
these are,
Oh, yeah.
do I put these under here?
I think the front camera is probably
Okay, front
just as
camera.
good.
So these are how you hold an escargot.
You hold
They're these little
them.
spring-loaded gizmos.
They can send them flying.
Yeah,
Okay.
they always end up in my waistcoat pockets. And I end up with a gold watch full of escargot.
There you
It's like,
go.
that doesn't work. But I'm gonna let everybody try one, since we have a bunch of them. But like I said, I'm terrible with them.
Everybody watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we need
Are
the
you
little
sure you want
forks
to
and the
trust this
skewers.
this close to the computer? I don't know.
Here you go. You have one, you have one. So we have the little two-prong forks.
Okay.
Which are okay.
You want to demonstrate how we do it?
Sure, I'll give it my best shot. And then we have these little, I don't know what they're called, picks from like lobster and stuff. So I'm gonna put those out there. Ken's got one. So all you do is kind of scoot in.
Right.
Oh, and I blocked it off. If my brother Philippe is watching this, he's gonna be howling out there in Arizona.
Also, we definitely have some friends joining.
All right.
Maybe Joanne Brown, friend of yours?
It'll end up in your pocket, I think.
It is. It always ends up in my
Running
pocket.
across the field.
Once it's gripped, it's okay.
Slow.
They're
Then
terrible
you
to try to
peel it out
catch.
and eat it, right?
And then, yeah, you scoop in with something because they kind of go deep inside. And then,
Oh, there we go.
now, don't swallow the whole thing.
Oh, gosh.
Take your Petite Blue.
There we go. Look at that.
I don't have
You
any
did
Petite
great.
Blue.
Yeah, Red Scare.
I need some Petite Blue.
Yes, ma'am.
But those don't have any petite blue in them, just these two.
Just this set has Petite Blue. So if you grab from the blue tray, you didn't get the Petite Blue ones, you got the basics.
I got the
Well, then I
basic I'm gonna
definitely-
have.
I definitely need some Petite
That's
Blue.
one of these.
Grab a
You can't
Petite
put
Blue
back
one
snails,
with the
Bob.
Petite Blue.
It's too late.
And because, you know how to say left-handed in French? A gauche.
A gauche, yeah.
Sinistral.
Sinistra, right. So because I'm a gauche,
Come on, Bob. You missed me.
10 seconds. The food is in the shelf, and we're good.
need a napkin.
All right, now I had a plain one with Red Scare, which
Okay.
works nicely. Had that savory sort of basil or
boy.
something in there. Now I'm gonna try your Petite Blue drizzled one.
I'm being careful.
With some
Don't worry, I won't
Petite
rip it
Blue.
on your
That's
head.
right. That's right. Then I probably had worse things stripped on my head.
You know what? I think this is one that Bob put back. It's empty.
You might have to dig deeper.
You have to dig deeper.
Go in with one of these. If it's deep inside, you got to go in one of those. I'm terrible at the little.
What do you eat these
Oh.
with? If that's with Petite Blue, what do you eat these with?
So you can try that with Red Scare, or you can try it with a nice dry mead. Nobody in Scotland eats escargot. I don't know why, but
Do they
try
have
it.
snails in Scotland?
They ate them all.
I
It might be
think.
why. I don't
Might be
They
why.
ate them all.
But try the three honey and drip a little bit of three honey in
Oh,
there
that's
with
good.
it, and you're going to get the nice dry three honey.
know. I think I need to get us some more glasses
Yeah.
so we can try these.
I'm back on.
You could always put more, right?
You can put Red Scare in these. You can put Deep Blue.
Ken, why don't you pour a little bit of the three honey in those dry ones? Not dry, but the ones that don't have any wine in them.
Got some new
Oh,
glasses.
okay.
Oh,
There you go, sir.
That was better.
sir. There you
I
go,
tried
wife.
the plain one
Yeah.
with the Red Scare. It was very nice. But your Petite Blue drizzled one with the Petite Blue.
Yes, it's
was
the perfect
really- It's
combination.
really right on.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want another one? Do you want a
I would
Petite
love
Blue
to
one?
try either one with the Petite Blue or one with three honey. If we've got that if you wanted to.
So this is
drizzle a
what we
few
do at
with
home
300.
some nights. Instead of a charcuterie board, we do a charcuterie table. And sometimes it gets a little weird. And we try different stuff and say, oh, I like that. So remember I talked about the blue sauce, which
There
is
you go. There's a
applesauce
3 honey.
down
Splash it.
until it
Anyone
has
say
the
3 honey
wine
in
in
here?
it. So if you take that and you mix it, and I have the recipe in there, with just plain old
You
softened
doing 3
butter.
honey, Bob?
And you take your immersion blender and you go, let me hear make that sound. Very good. So we have 2 immersion blenders going here. Get that butter. See, the peanut gallery is just howling. Going, look at the crowd going. I wish you guys
All right,
could
Bob,
see the
I got a
faces.
3
on
honey
it.
one for you.
So,
There you go.
take your butter, and in this case, of course, because I'm going down a thread, it's
Going down a
Petite
thread.
Blue. Little deep dive on Petite Blue today. So you just take some Petite Blue with the apple. This also does really well. I've done it with Dolgo heirloom, and it's very, very good.
So what is this pink creamy stuff?
This pink creamy stuff is the blue sauce that we made earlier.
The blue sauce that you made before that we had in the
Yeah.
crepes.
So it's a 1/4 cup of the blue sauce with 1 stick of softened butter, and you take the immersion blender and you just whip it. You just whip it
Does it
until
go
it's frothy, like that noise. Yeah. And you know, you got the noise. You'll know by the sound of it. Anybody who has the courage to try this at home.
Keep pouring wine and we could just digress into just nothing but sounds.
No, trying to create this butter. They're going to hear. So what I encourage you to do, the way I began was the beurre de melange, which I gave you the recipe for. I make a lot of French style flavored butters. And so when I encountered Hermit Woods Winery, I started to figure out which of my French flavored butters I wanted to do with which of my Hermit Woods wines. And that's
so
how
what
I
makes
ended
this
up
a
with this.
French flavored butter? What?
'Cause
Because
probably
you first had it in France, or
Well, like Beurre de Bercy. Bercy is a borough of Paris. So Beurre de Bercy is the flavored butter from that little borough of
okay.
Paris. Every single village in France has their own butcher shops. Every single village in France.
What's the French name for a butcher shop?
the butcherie.
No, boulangerie is bread. Patisserie is good cakes and cookies.
Pastry.
What's that? Boucher.
I don't know what I said. Butcherie.
Chevalerie is where you get the horse meat.
Moving along. We'll,
Anyhow,
anybody out there knows what the French word is for
a butcher shop.
You can
That's
let
right.
us know in the comments section.
Le butcherie.
So take
The butchery, yeah.
just take a little baguette and slather a little bit of the flavored butter on it.
All right.
Ken, could you make me one?
I'm gonna slow it down.
So I don't
a bit,
reach
because I know some of the audience may be trying to follow, and I'm having a hard time following.
I have a hard time following me.
Right, so I want
Jump in, Bob,
I
and
want
roll.
to review what we just did. We had some escargot that was made with a Petite Blue wine in the making of them, and then you drizzled some Petite Blue wine on top, and we paired that with Petite Blue. And then you have some escargot that was not made with Petite Blue wine. Was any wine used in it at all?
Nope.
Just made in the standard way.
Butter and spices.
Butter and spices. And then we paired some of that
There you
with the 3 honey wine. And then, did you do that?
I did not. Marika did the 3 honey,
How did
and
you
you
find
did
it?
the 3 honey.
That was good.
I found it excellent as well. The 3 honey went very nicely. And I have to say, the Petite Blue, it certainly helped that you put Petite Blue in the shell with it. But the Petite Blue and the escargot also were very nice. The buttery, and it wasn't. It didn't
All right, I'm trying a
overpower.
Red
It was a
Scare
nice
one. Have you
combination.
tried a Red Scare one?
So that's the combination of escargot. And then we went on to some toast and some compound butter. which
Baguette.
we made.
Yep. Right.
Baguette.
With any of the French butters. And what I'm trying to show you there is as I'm practicing weaving the same wine through every single course of a meal and every single part of every single course. And so there've been a lot of failures, trust me. But so these are the successes.
Yes. So
As we're getting there.
when my wife and I were traveling in France 10 years ago, that was one of the best things. Is on every corner you could find a baguette. There were baguettes everywhere, and cheeses and wines, and every day we would end up back at our house or wherever we were staying, and enjoying something on a baguette and with wine, and it is a great existence. And that was the other thing I found, that the French most of the kitchens in France are very, very small because the French shop every day.
Right.
They go out to the corner shop and get
Buy
what they
fresh.
need, and it's fresh.
And the Dutch and the Scotch too.
Yeah. So whereas Americans go to the supermarket, fill a basket up, and that's our food for the week, and it's a very different experience when you're in France. So very enjoyable.
So for crossing this over, we decided to take things that we can get here easily. So escargot do not fit in that category, okay? Everything else fits in that category. So things you can go to your local Hannaford or Walmart or Shaw's or whatever store you shop at. We want to
Hermit
find
Woods.
or Hermit Woods. So all of these things. So this is a Champlain Valley Creamery organic Champlain triple. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is to slice off a little piece of this and take some baguette or some cracker. The cracker has just got sea salt. It's got it doesn't have a whole lot of extra flavorings. So take a sample of each one. And now we would normally have pâtés with a red wine. But what I'm going to encourage you to do today is try your pâtés with a mead. It's not something most people would do, but your meads are, especially honeycomb, because honeycomb has such a really thick mouthfeel that it goes really well with all of them. And be careful when you do let me do a demonstration here with a little bit of simple, this is just any old basic cream cheese. Slap a little cream cheese on top, make a little hole in the middle like you did when you were a kid with your mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving to put the gravy. So you want that little hole kind of in the middle. And then take a little spoon and just take a little bit
Under the camera.
Yeah, a little to your left.
Show it to the overhead. There
a little blackfish,
There,
a
lovely.
little black lumpfish caviar. And I've got my wine ready. So what you're going to want to do is just favor that a little bit.
So Red Scare or Petit Bleu?
I'm on Petit Bleu today.
Okay.
But I'm going to try it in just a moment with the Red Scare. Have we opened the Red Scare yet?
Yeah.
Of course.
We've almost.
So what would your sort of conventional pairing with caviar be?
A heavy burgundy.
I really don't know.
Burgundy?
I like it with a heavy burgundy. These are all really, really strong flavors together. The other thing I like with Red
I honestly
Scare.
don't know that I've had caviar before.
I'm sure I've had it, but I'm not sure. I don't have a distinct memory of trying caviar.
I don't remember. I couldn't.
Is this
tell you
mine,
when and
Ken?
where.
Yes.
The other thing I found I love Red Scare with
Here you go, Bob.
is anchovies.
Oh, yeah.
Red Scare with anchovy pizza.
So I do. Oh, I have had caviar. I had a Finnish friend in college who used to bring
that's
caviar
delicious.
home from from Finland every time he would travel to Finland.
All right.
Oh,
I've gotta
that's
get
lovely
cooking.
with the mead.
Everything looks like it's at the right temperature over here on the little stove. So
Yeah, I'm going to go to the
gonna-
overhead camera so you
you.
can so I
Okay.
can see what you're doing.
I'm going to
over there.
encourage everybody to try different foods and different pairings from what you would normally eat, and especially try your French foods, your French cheeses. I didn't go through the rest of them. This is the Great Hill blue cheese. We still on the overhead camera?
That's
Great
out
Hill
of
blue cheese.
Massachusetts.
That's out of Massachusetts. So we found very similar cheeses to the ones we love in France, but we found them locally. So they're much more local sourced. And back to what we always talk about, having the local sourced wines with the local sourced cheeses brings a blend to the table, a commonness in the flavors. So let me see my heat.
This is the champenois.
Lovely. My caviar and cream cheese was excellent with the free honey.
Okay. So
As always, I always like to ask what everybody else is drinking. So if
Champenois.
anybody in the audience wants to
Thank you.
share what they're enjoying tonight,
I'm gonna try that with
please
wine.
chime in.
Oh. The marionette pieces again. We're going to make Bob dance around.
nope, you're going to have that one?
You sure? I could do that.
You're gonna
Could
have
put
that
a couple
one?
strings to his arms and just move them about.
You're going to have that one? And this one's going to go in the pile over here.
You ready, Ken? Here you go.
So, in Châtillon-sur-Loire, a few years ago, I learned about spinning crepes this way instead of the dip. I used to use the Nordic ware dip pans, and they took me forever. And then we got into this, and this has been
Can I sip this? This Bob's?
absolutely awesome.
It's mine now.
So
Yours?
heat up a little oil,
Yep.
spread it evenly on your
Spin it.
thick bottom, yeah, you're gonna spin it, on your thick bottom pan. So the thicker the bottom of the pan, the better you're gonna be.
And this
Yeah.
batter, tell us about the batter.
So this batter is,
In an Nalgene cup. Did you take this hiking?
I do. And again, just so you're clear, once it's been cooked, there's no alcohol in it.
Gotta scrub it out good.
So.
I've definitely learned never to put anything other than water in any of my bottles that have the straw or things like that, because it's so hard to clean that. But a big Nalgene like that, you can get a brush down in
Yeah,
there.
and
scrub
you're
it out
never
good.
supposed to take it in bear country after you've done this. Apparently bears love Deep Blue.
So let me ask you real quick, what are the ingredients in that, in the batter?
There are 3 egg yolks, 3 eggs, 1 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar, just to bring up the sweetness a little bit. A quarter teaspoon of salt, and a quarter cup of milk, and I think a cup and a half of Petite Blue. So it's got some real blueberry
Blue
flavor,
crepes.
Ooh, you got a
and
nice
it's
sizzle
not
on
a, am I under the right camera? Okay. It's not a very white looking crepe batter like you
No,
would
crepe is
normally
usually quite
think of.
pale.
Yeah,
So-
very dark.
It took a few passes to get this right. What ended up getting it right was the eggs.
I noticed as soon as you started to get ready to pour and spin one of these grapes, Lynn got up from her seat and ran over to the corner over there. She looked like she's nervous. Should she be?
Well,
Should I move? All right, I'm moving too. I'm out of here.
Everybody's turning
at
away.
home she would be getting near the fire
I'm
extinguisher.
going to stand behind Lynn.
Okay.
She seems
So-
to know exactly
You're
what
going to
to
be
do when
spinning it
you're
after
cooking.
me.
I mean, you gotta show me how to spin before I.
We
She
must
fills up her glass of wine and she gets back
You must look
out of
like
the way.
absolute chaos here. Okay, so what you're going to do is get your temperatures right. And you don't know how it's going to be right until you practice a bunch of times.
Sure.
So this ladle
It's always
is
like that
perfectly
first pancake
sized.
is always a.
Yeah. So pour it on, let that go, and then take your stick. Whoa, see, I'm a little too hot.
So it's already cooked too much to spin.
It's already cooked too much to spin well.
All right.
And it's starting to stick to my sticks. So I'm just going to add a little more. It'll be a thicker crepe. And we're just going to pull it out. I maybe have a little bit too much oil today too, based on. Lynn, can you get me a napkin to put some of the oil in? I'm going to pour it out. So typically when you're making crepes, your first 2 or 3 are never quite right.
It's like when you make pancakes and
It's like
muffins.
pancakes.
Yeah.
The first ones
yeah.
are always undercooked. You just scrape them off and throw them away, feed them to the dog.
Yeah,
whatever.
things like
Yeah.
that. So you got to take a little bit of time to get it right. And the reason why I spun those over there at home was because I'm very familiar with the stove and I figured it was going to come out pretty good. This is actually an early crepe and a later crepe.
Yep.
So you can see how nice and brown they are. So the crepes,
I
when you
saved those 2 for you so you could.
there
do
we
that
go.
demonstration.
So I could do that. So when you do your first crepes, they're going to be a little bit rough looking, and the first pour of the crepe always comes out better looking than when you flip the crepe over. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. We're not doing.
That seems like a challenge in and of itself.
So yeah, I get these really nice, huge spatulas.
Yeah.
You can get them at a specialty cooking store called Walmart. Abigail, if you're watching, see? She got us like 6 of them. So Abigail also got us many copies of the Crepe Cookbook because that's the one the kids love. So she got those and gave them out to everybody. She's following the same thing. So anytime we go into a bookstore where there are cookbooks, I was looking for these particular 3 and a couple of others, and they go very, very well.
sell these cookbooks in modern cook shops from the 70s? In modern cookbooks?
No, in bookstores, especially antique shops.
Antique shop.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, more like your old school
Find
bookstores.
those.
Oh, there's always a fabulous
Store
cookbook
in
section at
Yeah.
antique stores
And
for sure.
I believe Abby found them on
eBay.
Amazon, eBay or Amazon
Yeah.
or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you very quickly about
How's the crepe? Is it?
it's working away.
Okay.
It's not the greatest.
When it starts smoking, you can interrupt.
I know.
So
If there are flames coming up over on the side, maybe you interject at that point.
onion powder
Pour 'em
came
some
out
more
great
Petite Blue.
with a whole bunch of the meads and the cranberry wines and the Dolgos. Laurel Hill, this is the Petite Blue. I also gave you guys a recipe for a pork dish, which we're not going to get into tonight, but I gave you the recipe for it, and it's from Laurel Hill. But it's made
Laurel
with
Hill jams and jellies. She makes 3 or 4 different jams and jellies from our Petite Blue, our strawberry rhubarb, our
Heirloom crab apple.
rosé, our crab apple. Yes.
So the heirloom crab apple is the one that is my go-to cooking one for thin sliced pork.
Yep.
And I put the heirloom crab apple, just a little bit of Irish mustard, and then I cook it in this very same pan. I thought I turned my phone off.
Oh, there's the flip.
Oh, we did
Not
it.
bad.
Nicely
Wow.
done.
All right. So we're going to get
Almost
that
like
one
an
done.
inside out flip too. You right hand, but you went from the inside
Because I'm
over.
trying to do it for the camera so they can see it. So it looks right to that.
Very
Fancy.
nice.
So one of the
Most people, I
challenges
think,
we're
would go
having
this way.
today is because I'm doing too much cooking, I'm not eating
You're not eating enough.
caviar.
Right.
So I'm going to go for another caviar
Yeah,
That
because I
was-
love caviar.
that was good.
I'm going to have to try a caviar too. Ken made mine so light in caviar. All I could taste is the cream cheese.
Oh,
I did it the other way around, Bob. I made it light on the cream cheese and heavy on the caviar, but not heavy enough, I guess. Need a spoon. Big.
so who knew you probably knew this. 3 Honey Gold with brie.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't tried that yet? It's a great combo. I would have never thought
There
that.
you go.
I think anything with 3 honey gold, and she'll be happy. More happy with 3 honey. Coming
She
again
got
soon.
to sample
The new batch?
I brought her up a glass this
excellent,
evening.
excellent.
So you can see how long it takes to cook a crepe.
Yeah, you had to cook for 10 people,
Yeah.
and they're going to have
So
more than one each.
Sunday night dinner, Sundays I had 4 and 5 crepes each. So
Each.
Sunday night dinner, back when I was a kid with the Dipper Nordic Ware crepe pan, it would be an all evening event. And my objective was always to be done by Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Gerald and
That
I,
was a show.
we got to know each other on Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom every Sunday night when we first started dating. That was our go-to. Every
So you picked your animal from a TV show? That's so cool. Anyhow, I'm going to jump in here.
Does
a
the
little
cook
bit.
always
Ken,
snag
I
a
just need to
crepe
say,
while
you
he's
nailed
cooking?
The last one. The caviar balance with the cream cheese was just.
Yeah, see, mine went a little bit over. I made one, I thought I was making it like yours, but I got too much caviar.
Oh, that was
So it was
good.
too briny,
Too salty.
too salty.
Now,
When you hit it
yeah.
right,
blueberries with the blue sauce, with the butter
Oh.
and the baguette.
so do you have a fancy name for the blue sauce, or do you just call it the blue sauce?
It's called the blue
All
sauce.
That's his
capitals.
fancy name.
The blue
The
sauce.
blue
That's my fancy name.
The blue sauce.
You could call it bluette.
It's pretty catchy.
I do call blueberry raisins blazons, and I have blizer, which is what I think we should be calling blueberry.
Uh-oh, looks like it's my turn.
Your turn.
Do I need any more oil? Are we good?
No, you got way enough oil.
Way enough oil. Okay, so we're gonna do a little
All
stir.
right, you got them on the overhead, Rika?
Oh,
Bob's
Yep.
going
It's
in.
gonna be interesting.
Alrighty, here we go.
Bob's going in.
You ready? Here we go. I think we need a little more. There we go. A little spin.
You feel like a
Beautiful.
windshield wiper.
Fill in those holes, get
I'm
them
like
even.
Dry, he can comment all he wants.
Nice.
Oh, I got a little pile up there. Little pile up on the I-93. There we go. Oh, it's close. It's my first spin.
So let's
Over that.
you're going to see it bubble a little
Let's let
bit.
it cook for a bit.
Yeah, how do you know when it's?
The real fun is gonna
You'll
be
see
when
the
I go and
bubbling.
flip it.
You'll see it be lifting. It'll be lifting and it'll start to get hard around the
So this
edges.
is where you.
He's got a thicker area right here, which may be a little bit of a problem. And if you have,
Might be a little bit of a problem there, Bob.
yeah, and if you have holes, like, try to fill the holes. It's not going to fill. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you have holes when you're trying to flip it, that's
Whatever
where
you do, don't pour extra batter in after the fact.
No, that won't work.
Don't ever do that.
And that will, he's going to try it anyhow. Give it a try. So when you have holes, that's where the rip is going to begin in the crepe.
You fill
Okay.
the holes when you have holes.
You fill the holes.
I still think I should manipulate your hands as
All right, pay attention with me here for a minute.
I'm
So,
listening.
did
Good luck
I
with that,
cover
Matt.
pairing,
He's been drinking.
pairing one wine through the entire meal?
No, I haven't been. Maybe that's the problem.
I covered favorite cookbooks, and don't be afraid to write in the cookbooks. Make those changes. When you find something that you like, write in the dang cookbook. It's your cookbook. You paid the money for it. The only time you can't write in a book is a school book. But you know what? The teachers
even
never check them at
those.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
So write in the school
Always
book.
fun when you
anyhow.
find something in there.
Yeah, because then
And
the next
imagine-
kid gets to know what the
That's
right
right.
stuff is.
Or
Write in the book.
One of the best books I've ever read was it was a book about women in trail work, which, you know, is a good book in itself, but the copy I had been passed around to several of my friends and coworkers, and every different person had written their own notes in it in a different pen, a different handwriting.
Right.
And it was so fun to read because I was getting all these different, thoughts of all these other people that had been reading it.
and did you add
Everybody's
some?
take on it.
I added a bunch myself. Yeah.
good.
It's
Very good.
It's a great
Matt,
copy.
I want to add a little caveat to your suggestion. See, there's two ways you could go about this. The reason we are all here today is what I like to tell everybody at our loft tasting experience, is because I suck at making beer. I discovered that Ken makes really good beer. I've never made another batch of beer again, right? So what you're proving is that I just need to spend more time with you.
There we go. And more
I
food.
don't need to
Make more
learn
food.
anything about this. I just
eat
need to
his
hang out
food.
with you.
Just eat his food.
So I've been doing this for a long time.
Uh-oh.
I'm wicked old. I've been doing
She
this for a
keeps
long
backing
time.
up further and further.
We're scaring her. So, and she's like, if he gets onto the red scare instead of the deep blue, we're all in trouble. So when I
Not
did
yet,
that, remember
Bob,
we were
not
talking
yet.
on one of the nights, I think it was the cooking night for the mussels, where we said, start with good ingredients. If you don't cook with good
That's the
ingredients,
key.
you don't get a good meal.
Right.
So when you find a wine that you love and you're building it into as a main ingredient, it's the underpinning of the entire meal, then stay through with that wine. But having a good quality wine that's complex enough to go with, whether it be a simple crepe, plain butter and a baguette, or a really nice escargot, finding that wine is the key. And I'm sure if Louis Jadot was here, he would kiss you right on your neck.
On that note, it's really, I love the fact that you have focused in on Red Scare, because Ken and I have often said, and we agree, that that's one of the finest wine I think Ken has mastered here at the winery. And it's one of our most popular, some of our hardcore club members and wine guests always, because you get it ready.
We're getting there. See how it's getting lighter in some spots?
Yeah.
We're getting ready.
How about my little pools where I fill them all?
We'll work with
Anyway,
those.
I'm glad that you focus on the Red Scare, because that really is, I think, one of our best wines.
So today we tasted the new Red Scare during our wine
Yeah,
tasting.
yeah.
And we realized that it's somewhat different than the old Red Scare that I had built everything around. Petite Blue seems to hold true from every year. And
Oh,
of
no,
course,
that's going to change too. Wait
That's
till you try
gonna
the
change.
20.
and we just did
That's
the
changed a lot.
we did the double pairing. And of course, last week's class was all about the linear tasting on that. But it really holds up well. But the change in the Red Scare is going to require that everything that I do with Red Scare offers less salt. It's got to be a less salty thing. So my Chex Mix is going to be less salty. Again, not so much with the
because the
caviar.
19 vintage, I didn't put any salt in it.
You
Whereas
put
in the
salt in
18,
wine
I
when you
put
make it?
saltine crackers, actually.
I never knew that.
No, I didn't.
So I'm working with sea salt crackers. I don't know what the difference is, but my first, and I haven't experimented with in the kitchen very much at all, of course, because I haven't been home yet. But today down in the tasting room, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's substantially different. And I had to think about it real quick because of what we're doing here tonight. And I needed to go with, that's why I felt
That's
bad
why
about
I
asking you
went
to
got
do
the
it.
18.
You
No,
went
it's
to
fine.
get the 18 because the 18 just is oh my God, it's the perfect wine with pizza. But it's also the perfect wine with escargot. How can that be? And the key, the denominator there is the saltiness that's in the foods that it blends so well with. And the other is the mouthfeel and the butters, which is why honeycomb, to me, is the better product for most of the meals that I do than 3 Honey wine. 3 Honey wine's cleaner, drier.
Right.
It's not so luxurious in your mouth, you know?
So for just a moment, have we have any comments or questions from our guests?
Several comments. There haven't been any questions that we need to pass on.
I've scared them all.
Well, no, it's, some fun comments from Matt and Lynn's children. That Lee mentioning that for her graduation that you did a crepe making party, which sounds excellent.
Yep.
And Mike would like to make it known that it was his influence during the England hike that brought you to all those pubs. He was the one.
Yes, it was.
Well done, Mike.
Yes, it was.
All right, Mike.
So,
well done.
Typically, after a long day of hiking,
Yeah, where's Mike?
after a long day of hiking, I didn't do. I have to change that. I have to put that as I didn't do a whole lot of pub travel, but there were many nights when Mike would say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to go try that pub." One night, we had to literally. We should have had football gear on, football helmets and stuff, because we're being. Give that a try, flipping it. We were roughly being attacked by cows on our way down this ancient Roman road from the year 122 AD, and where we had to cross over to get to the pub. Mike, if this is any bit of a lie, you post it. We had to go over this cute little Roman bridge, but the original Roman road from the year 122 went down under in a ford.
Yep.
So somebody had to be elected that night to go through the ford and to go under.
That was you.
So yeah, I had. And come here, get where the camera can see you. Tell them what you drink every night in a pub when you can.
Sticky toffee pudding.
Sticky toffee pudding. So once Mike got Lynn to eat sticky toffee pudding in the pubs at night.
Then you were always going to the pubs.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right.
And it was
All right,
great.
you're going to flip?
Overhead camera, please. We got
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So in a pub,
Come on, Bob.
if the tap goes, yes,
Yeah.
nicely
nice.
done.
You hit it perfect.
Good job.
It's not my first rodeo.
So in a pub, if the tap goes
If he
like
jumped it, he would have
this,
said, oh, sorry, this is the first time I've done this.
he said he kind of said it was going to be good entertainment value there. If the tap goes like this in the pub, that's okay. But if the tap goes like this in the pub,
Hand pulled.
oh, that's the one to
Handful
go.
beers.
So Mike is the guy that kind of brought me to some of these really cool
Real
places.
ale.
And the first night in the North Country, we slept in the Carlisle Brewery.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
We slept
I
in
can
barns and
picture
breweries
that.
and castles.
Yep, that sounds lovely.
they do an elephant lager, don't they? Mm-hmm. The big elephant on the front of it.
I think I can picture.
You'd have
the
to ask Mike.
label.
That was in the book we read, right? The Carlisle Brewery.
Yeah, I've read about it.
Bob, you're standing
Never had it.
directly in front of Lynn. You should scooch a little bit. So we're down to our last 5 to 10 minutes. We
Oh my
started
goodness.
a little late, so we can go
we
a
got
little
5
over,
minutes,
I'd
right.
say. But I want to make sure we cover anything that we
right.
Matt intended to talk about or chat about. And
Tools for escargot, mouth chemistry. Every one of us has a different mouth chemistry.
Yep. That's
So-
important to note too. One of the things I like to tell everybody when we're tasting wine with food, people get intimidated by it. They feel like it's scary. They're not sure. They don't have enough
Seems like
knowledge.
there's a wrong answer.
There seems like a wrong answer.
Right.
There's no wrong answer. If you put wine and food together in your mouth and it doesn't taste good, well,
doesn't taste
probably
good.
not a good
Not good
pairing.
Right.
If you put it in your mouth and it tastes delicious, go for it.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's a simple rule.
And if
have
you
to trust
find a
yourself.
winery that makes a wine that you like, let alone 6 wines that you like, stay with that
Buy it because
winery.
they're going to change and go away.
good point.
Exactly, you've done that to me. But if you find a winery that makes a number of wines that you like, stay with that winery, go there, taste it. So I do a taste, I do a glass, I do a bottle, and then if
Yeah,
it
then you
meets all the
sleep.
muster, then I stock it. I put it in the inventory in the wine cellar.
That's
so that
usually
we
what
have
I
it
do.
for all
If I
these
do a
different-
sip, a glass, then a bottle, I'd take a nap.
Yeah.
But he's a pro, I guess. He starts over again on the next wine. Does a tasting, does a glass, does
So-
them all.
We're going to run out of time soon.
How's my cake doing?
I'm getting you ready over here.
It's looking pretty good. Even
So-
my patches work.
What you're going to do, do I even have a clean fork, a clean knife left?
Don't worry about it.
All right.
They're all clean enough.
So if I wasn't wearing my favorite hiking pants, I would wipe the knife on my pants just for the show value of that, but I'm not going to.
Damn.
I know.
Thought we had a moment.
I'm not going to do that. So
I'll do it.
he'd wipe it on my pants. So what I want you to do is while it's still warm, I want you to, can you put the overhead camera
Yep,
on?
going to it. All right.
You're going to think about 1/8 of the pie,
And spread some.
and you're going to spread this jelly on it
Yep.
in a little thin layer right there. Then you're going to fold this way, and then you're going to flip the whole thing over and fold it. You want the jelly to end up in the very middle of the crepe. Okay?
This is, I don't,
Wow, good luck.
I don't even know.
That's like
I like
higher
it.
math right
It
there.
is.
No,
It's got to be a geometry type problem.
Well, I can get the
There's a cute
quarter.
root in there somewhere.
I can get the quarter pretty good, I think. There we go.
So after the show is all over, I will have to tell you guys, since
Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't, you're gonna.
That's
I don't
such a
know
tease
this
now
like
for
that.
everybody.
sorry,
Yeah.
Now you
but I
got
got to tell you about
you're gonna have to
the
disclose.
night in
What do you think,
Lanark
Matt? Is that
Castle,
enough?
in the night in the
Looks
Priory,
good, Bob.
and what happened to
Is that
us.
enough?
That looks perfect.
All right. Well,
Now you got your
Now do your
Yep.
folding.
Fold.
this way, on this line. on this
Correct.
axis.
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go. And then
Good.
I'm gonna fold on this axis.
Correct. And then flip the whole thing over.
Yep.
Because you don't want the jam to be on the very
You want
bottom.
the jam in the very, very middle of all the folds.
All right.
Oh, he lost
Over.
something.
We got another plate? We got another plate? Ah! We're out of
There's
plates.
space on the bread
There you
plate.
go.
Yeah.
Bob's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
There we go.
Hey.
A little
Got
jam.
some
Little
sizzling
hot
jam
jam,
there.
a little sizzling
There we
jam.
go.
I think we have, so there you go.
Go back to
Here,
your
you
regular
sit
camera.
down. Sit right
We're
here.
gonna cut this up. We're gonna share this.
So we went to Lanark Priory on our hike, and I got distracted by my darling wife, which happens a lot. And I had left one of the children, I don't remember which child, the children will correct my stories, but I said, pick 2 pints of the brandy, and that's what we'll have in
2 pints of brandy?
Yeah, well, we were 14 people. So I said, pick 2 pints of the brandy tonight, and that's what we'll have in camp. And then I went off to take care of what my wife had wanted me to talk about. So shortly after that,
Ooh, nice and
somebody
warm.
else comes up and says to whatever child it was, I'm going to say Daniel for the sake of discussion, what are you doing? He says, oh, my father said we got to pick 2 pints of brandy for tonight at the campsite. Somebody else comes up, we'll say Jake. Jake comes up and says, what are you doing? And the kid says, this is like the game of telephone. Mr.
2
Denette
pints of-
says, we each have to pick 2 pints of brandy for the campsite tonight. You see that little subtle twist there? We get to the camp and we have a lot of
You've
brandy
got a lot of brandy. That was a good night.
in glass bottles. I'm not going to hike with lots of glass bottles.
I've done that, but I have a similar story. So I brought a sparkling wine. I like the 4,000 footers, and I was so
Did you
excited
get one of those?
Yes.
to accomplish the 4,000 footers. So on the last one, the 48th one, I brought a little bottle of champagne that I was going to pop at the summit. Of course, it was only about 5 degrees out that night or that day on the summit. So I'm all excited. I got my champagne and it's ready to go. And I go to push the cork out, and the cork goes falls on the ground.
No pressure.
No pressure. At 5 degrees, CO2 doesn't produce pressure. But it was still fun. It was a good bottle of champagne.
On our 25th wedding anniversary, we ducked off of an event we were on in Acadia, Maine. Thank you, dear.
Oh, look at right
And-
behind the scenes. You're spinning your own.
That's right.
I like it.
So we're at
She did it like a
Acadia.
pro.
We jumped
Very
off the
impressive.
scene. We go to have this bottle of champagne with my parents. I'm away in Shandon with my parents and my brother Chris, who was my best man and whatnot. And so the 25th wedding anniversary, it was really nice with just a lot of, our immediate family and 27 of our favorite scouts. And this wine was terrible. It was one sip. Remember I wrote you about this. It was one sip and the whole spit it right into the campfire. It was like, oh my God, that's terrible. The cork had gone bad. It was just
This is
Oh, that's
literally
too
before you
bad.
discovered Hermit Woods.
Yes, but so you saw a couple of posts I posted earlier this last year with some of these wines from 1970 that we found. and drank. I'm glad.
A little bit jealous, I have to say.
Some of them were pretty cool.
He's still waiting for his old.
Yeah, you gave me that
wine.
advice though, that some of these wines are okay in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, they can go really quickly.
They go really
They fall
quickly.
apart, yeah.
So that 1971 that we did, the three of us who shared that half bottle of wine were well prepared on that. And
I'm still looking forward to, Ken's been telling me for years about the experiences that he's had drinking 40 and 50-year-old wines. And I haven't had that yet. I've had some nice older wines, but not.
so for those of you watching from this end, if you don't have a Gordon to set you up with a wine library, and you just, give Gordon a blank check and say, hey, Gordon, set me up with a wine. Because most of us don't know Gordon for real life. I've never known him.
Yeah.
So what we did was we gave Bob and Ken and Chuck and Geraldine, we gave them a credit card. What's that? Oh, and Abby Blake, right? Abigail Marie. So we gave a group of people up here our credit card. And we said, we are going to set up a wine library. I want each one of you to pick and sign your wines that you're going to devote to our wine library.
Right.
Now, are you actually saving them? Because I heard rumor that you were having a hard time letting them age.
Out of Red Scare. I'm out of Red Scare. I picked up another honeycomb today downstairs at lunch because the honeycomb is just spectacular.
You have to hide them from yourself.
I can't. It's my wine cellar. So, and the other thing is that the corked wines are down bottom.
I know you tend to run out of this stuff, so you now have a 17, an 18, and a 19
Red Scare. Hang on a minute.
You can
I
drink
see a
all three
vertical
of them.
tasting coming in.
Hang on.
So you can run all three of them together.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
And thank you too.
That's a good way.
I want to thank all of you guys for everything that you did and there were days in the beginning of COVID where I was literally sick to my stomach thinking what was going to happen. You guys had stretched yourselves. You were on the hook for this. And it's like, what can we do? What can we do to help? Is there anything at all that we can do to bring this through? And so the one thing we could actually do as a couple was just drink lots and lots and lots of your wine.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank you. Yeah,
And since I didn't have to drive to work every day, as I don't now, I did my share of keeping up with your production.
Well, on that note, we're 5 minutes over, so we're going to bring this to a close. But thank you guys so much for coming out and bringing all your goodies.
All right.
This has been a really, really fun evening.
I hope it was for the audience as well.
I hope so, and I hope all of you get to try some of these things. Get yourself a crepe pan and some escargot. You said you got these in the States, right?
Yeah, in Chicopee, Massachusetts.
Chicopee, Mass. So you can find them.
Arnold's was the place in Chicopee who brought them in for us.
You'll find it.
Yep, you'll find them.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Tune in. So next Monday we're scheduled. We're going off site again next Monday.
We're going to Tap House.
I will not be here.
What's that? You will not be here.
I wouldn't be surprised. I might be able to tune in from
I hope so.
afar.
We'll send you a link. So
I'll try and be there to answer questions
Yeah.
in the audience, but I am missing the field trip to Sap House.
You're going to Sap House
Sap
Saturday?
House Meadery.
I think that's
Next Monday at 5:30. Yes, it is Sap House.
So they have a Sap House blueberry mead.
The blueberry and sage.
I don't know if it's blueberry and sage, but I know there's a Sap House blueberry mead.
We will try it.
Try that Sap House blueberry mead, and I'll be down in Massachusetts, and I will open up my bottle at the same time, and I will toast you guys, hopefully,
Cheers.
with the same, because I collect blueberry everything.
Sure.
So we'll
That's
do
great, and I'm excited because we started Hermit Woods Winery around the same time. I think they got a little jump on us. They were started a little bit.
Yeah,
before
Matt and
us.
Ash were a couple months before us.
Yeah, but great guys doing amazing things. I think some of the best meads in New England coming out of Sap House Meadery. So we're going to go to Sap House Meadery next week. We're going to try some of their meads or talk to the founders, learn a little bit about how they form their business, and I'm excited. So tune in next Monday at 5:30 and learn about Sap House Meadery. So thank you everybody for coming out tonight. I hope we didn't confuse you too much with all of our shenanigans. But cheers to
Cheers, everyone.
That's how my life is.
Wine in there. So
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
We'll see you in a week.